Again with a learning update. And I'm coming to you from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, as is Dave Pace, who's with us here today. Dave's a state lead for recovery and preparedness. And today we're going to have a bit of a chat about the recovery cycle, and Dave's going to step us through it. G'day, Dave.
G'day, Anthony. Nice to be here again.
Yeah, awesome. So today we're going to have a bit of a talk about the recovery cycle, and I think you've got a chart to show us, and we're going to have a bit of a chat about how that works.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen now so you can all see it. Does that come up okay now?
Yeah, it has.
Perfect. So this is, a few of you might already be well versed in this chart, but basically it shows the timeline that we look at in recovery. It's not perfect. It's not exact to a science because every community and every disaster and every recovery is going to be different. But basically what you can see here is the part where we're all really familiar with, which is the heroic stage and the honeymoon stage. That's where we look at like the traditional emergency services. That's where feelings of altruism, connections to friends, family and neighbours have a really kind of strong bond because of what they've just gone through and what they've just experienced together. Like the level of catastrophe draws people together. And then immediately afterwards, in the first couple of days, normally we see a bit of a honeymoon phase where those connections are really at their strongest. People are relating to each other. People have gone through that shared experience, which really builds those bonds. So you see that all the time with the amount of generosity that people have, the amount that people are willing to support each other through what they've just gone through, and really just like the level of connection that people have between each other as well. And it's really obvious, and you see it in media and news all the time. Where we come in for the recovery side of things, for the long-term recovery, is really after that honeymoon phase. Once all the adrenaline's starting to wear off, once all the honeymoon phase is starting to wear off, and people are now really confronted with the level of catastrophe and the amount of damage that means for them, for their environment, and for the people that they love as well. So in that first 1 to 3 years, we see this huge change in people's emotions and people's well-being. They go from disappointment, anger, frustration. They get to experience the negative sides of all the red tape, disputes with building, disputes with issues and loss and insurance. There's a huge amount of exhaustion. That's one of the most common feelings that people express, is just this level of overwhelming exhaustion. And through that process as well, there's a lot of disillusionment with people's expectations. So they'll expect a lot of help from agencies or different groups, but what they see is the level of help doesn't match up with what they're expecting as well. People tend to forget that recovery is a long-term journey, and people lose interest and they might start chasing the next disaster and the next event. And then eventually what we look for is an upwards trajectory again, where people overcome those delays and obstacles, and they really are starting to rebuild their own community and their own sense of life again like they had before, or something different, as long as they get that chance to build something that they have control over and can look forward to. With COVID, what we've seen is instead of it looking like 1 to 3 years, really we're kind of just repeating that first 6 to 12 months because of that lost chance where people can connect together and kind of get along and share stories. So this 1 to 3 years might look a lot longer for a lot of people, especially like last week when we were talking about rebuild and delays. So instead of 3 years, it might be 5 or 10 years for a lot of people as well. And I might just stop there for now, Anthony, in case there's any questions.
Sure. Fantastic. Thanks, Dave. It's look, it's a remarkable thing, isn't it? And to see it laid out like that is just so helpful. If we look around the country now, we can see all kinds of different communities in different stages. Just reflecting on what I'm seeing in New South Wales, particularly, there's a lot of frustration at the moment. And then I think back to even the 2009 fires, and even recent years, we've still been supporting those communities with significant anniversaries and bits and pieces like that. So like you say, it's not an exact science. I like the way you put that. But it does give us a bit of an indicator of where we're at, and it's really helpful for us if we work in recovery or even in outreach to have a bit of an understanding of where that is. So
yeah, and I'd really recommend some of the videos that Rob Gordon's put out as well. He does a few stages of videos of what to expect the first 6 months, first year, first 2 years, and things like that, which could be a really handy resource for people.
Awesome. And I think in the coming weeks we'll look to attach some of those to the Facebook post. So thanks so much, Dave. I'm sure we'll catch up again and talk more about recovery, but that's been really useful. So thanks. Talk soon.
See you next time.